The time has finally come. It's been 5 years since I started this channel, and I'm finally doing a Cubs video. Yes, it's finally time you guys get some baseball content from me. I've mentioned it a couple times in some other videos in the past, but I'm a Cubs fan. If you can't tell by the beautiful blue that I'm wearing, I'm not wearing that depressing black and white that the White Sox have. Sure, you guys might have the Pope, but we got the better baseball team. Simple as that. First place in the NL Central as I give you the first of hopefully 3 or 4 update videos throughout the season. I'm by no means a true baseball savant, but I do watch my fair share of baseball and really like the sport. So don't expect this channel to really kind of dive in the true deep statistics on each individual game or really keep up with the minor league system. There are people that are much more qualified than I am to talk about those types of things. So I'm kind of just going to be going over my reaction to how the first month and a half-ish of the season has gone for the Chicago Cubs. Now look, in the offseason, the team made a couple nice signings, but didn't really break the bank. Mainly because the Dodgers were doing all of that spending, getting almost every single top prospect, free agent, spending whatever money they decided. They just gave them pretty much everyone a blank check, it sounds like. That's what it feels like. So naturally, the Cubs have to go play the Dodgers to start the season in Tokyo in the middle of spring training, which I thought was a really smart decision in terms of the two teams they picked to go to Tokyo. Japan has connections to the Dodgers and the Cubs. Imanaga and Suzuki, the two Japanese stars for this Cubs team, get to play in Tokyo. And then for the Dodgers, you have Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and the new pitcher, Roki Sasaki. So you have some of the most popular Japanese-born MLB players in this series. And the Cubs kind of stumbled. They lost both. That sucks. But it was okay, it's a fun series. I would have loved to see them, get a split, go get a win in Tokyo. But that's life. It's 2 games. You have 160 more to make the postseason, make a push. And the good thing is that you get all of your games against the Dodgers out before the end of April. Now, I'll admit I didn't really actually watch those games. They were on at 3 a.m. local time. There's no way I was staying up or getting up for that, but I did skim through. I wanted to see what it was like to see some MLB baseball back in Tokyo. That's the word I'm looking for. And so opening day arrives just about a week later, and they play the Arizona Diamondbacks on the road. Not a necessarily easy task. And they win the first game, and then lose the second one, and then win the third game. And then choke a massive save, blow a massive lead in the final game of the series. All right, 2-2. Glad I get out of Arizona with a series split. I'm going to be okay with that. I will take it. Honestly, with how Arizona's kind of played against the Cubs the last couple of years, I'll take a series split on the road, especially early in the season. And there are some people out there who just get really confused how baseball fans act after a loss, sometimes, especially early in the season. It's it's just one game of 162. It's the first couple weeks of the season. Why are you getting so upset? Well, in this case, especially with the series finale against the Diamondbacks, looked eerily similar to a lot of problems the Cubs had last year. Big reason why they didn't make the playoffs last year, couldn't hold on to leads. Blew a lot of saves. But they did get rid of that closer, Hector Neris. They signed Ryan Presley. Regardless, the bullpen falls apart in this game, and everyone's just wondering, oh no, are we going to have the same issues with the bullpen again this year? Now, to be fair, we haven't seen a ton of collapses like that this season. I'll get to the Giants game in a little bit. But after they finish their series on the road against Arizona, they get to be the first team to play as the visiting team in Sacramento against the Athletics. Apparently, it's just Athletics. John Fisher wants so badly to get rid of the Oakland stench from his team. He doesn't care that he's going to leave Oakland, play in Sacramento for like 3 years, and then go to Vegas. And he doesn't even want to stick with Sacramento Athletics. He's just going to remove the name entirely, like the absolute spineless loser he is. So I will be referring to them as the Sacramento Athletics because guess what? They play in Sacramento. I'm sorry, John Fisher. No, I'm not. I don't think many baseball fans are sorry if they decide to go with Sacramento Athletics or even just continue to call them the Oakland Athletics because, frankly, they haven't moved to Las Vegas. For a lot of people, they're still the Oakland Athletics. Take it or leave it. So, sorry, I got to get those feelings out of there. I haven't really got a chance to voice my opinion on the Athletics move. It's literally Major League in real life for all the true baseball movie fanatics out there. It's literally just the movie Major League, but replace the Cleveland Indians with the Oakland Athletics and replace Miami with Las Vegas, only this time the movie actually goes through and there's no movie storybook ending. The ending is the bad ending, where the team actually moves and they stab their fans in the back. So the Cubs are the first team to play the Sacramento Athletics on the road in that minor league stadium that John Fisher is so okay playing in for the next 3 years while they construct that stadium in Las Vegas. And they absolutely stomped them in their first ever game there. Kind of encapsulates where the organization is at right now. But in this game, Carson Kelly made his name known and honestly starts this really, really interesting journey he's been on over the last month. He hits for the cycle, something a Cubs hitter hasn't done in more than 20 years. And so the Cubs win 18-3 with the Kelly cycle in the first ever MLB game in Sacramento. They would then follow this up with 2 big wins to finish a sweep of the Athletics, which, looking back through April, that was the easiest series on the schedule. And by the time that the team finished April, Sacramento was like around 500. So they weren't even like the bad team that so many people thought they were going to continue to be through April. And now here comes the really tough part of the schedule. The Padres come to Wrigley Field for opening weekend in the friendly confines, and the Cubs take 2 of 3. I'll take that. The Padres are a good baseball team. I think that they can, again, challenge for the National League. I think they unfortunately have to play in the divisional series regardless because it's going to be really hard to beat the Dodgers in the NL West this year, but the Padres have been making a good case. And up to this point, the Padres had not lost a game on the season, and the Cubs handed them their first 2 losses of the year. Then the Texas Rangers come into town, and the Cubs find a way to take 2 of 3 again, and just like their series against the Padres, they won the first 2 games and dropped the final contest. So you're still feeling pretty good. The team's only lost 1 series all year up to this point, and that was their series against the Dodgers in Tokyo. So they're still having a pretty good year. And then the Cubs have to go on the road and play the LA Dodgers again, right? But always when I see the MLB schedule come out, I always look at when the Cubs play the Dodgers. I always really like it when the Cubs get their Dodger games out early. There was 1 year, I think it actually might have been last year, the Cubs had to go play at Dodger Stadium in September when they're fighting for a playoff spot. I think they ended up winning that series, but regardless, it's not a place you really want to be going, especially with a team right now that is as good as the Dodgers. So I'm happy that they got all their games out in April, and I'm happy that they're playing the Dodgers on the road in like the second weekend of the year. And so they dropped the first game, naturally. So now they're 0-3 against the Dodgers this year. How can it get worse? So now this is the part of the video where usually it's like, oh, but it gets much worse. No, this team's different. This was the start of a stretch that really showed to me that maybe this Cubs team is different. You think about some of these older Cub teams, especially the last couple of years where they've been hanging around in the playoff picture, but fell short ultimately. Had a lot of blown saves last year. That was the biggest reason why they missed the playoffs. And then they kind of got a bad schedule draw to end the year in 2023 when they were really pushing for the playoffs, and they only missed by 2 or 3 games. But this time, they go into LA after losing 3-0 and hand the Dodgers their largest shutout at home ever. That's right, the Cubs win 16-0 to the tune of 21 hits, 4 home runs, and 14 of their 16 runs coming in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. It was 2-0 going into the 7th in that game, and the Cubs won 16-0. Carson Kelly really making a name for himself on this Cubs team. 3 for 3 from the plate with 2 homers. And Michael Busch added a homer himself while going 4 for 6 in the batter's box. This team with a statement victory. It was awesome to see them destroy the Dodgers like this. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, the very next day, Pete Crow Armstrong, who has blossomed now into a superstar with 2 clutch homers, one coming late in the final third of that game to beat the Dodgers on the road and pick up another series win against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. Hey, let's keep it on the West Coast. The Cubs travel south to San Diego to play the Padres for 3. And the Padres pick up 2 of 3 wins. The Cubs win a game in extra innings. Kind of fun. But that was about it. I mean, honestly, that was kind of where you're sitting there like, man, this is a really nice start to the year. They've been playing some really tough teams. This kind of felt like, all right, you lost a series. You stole a series against the Dodgers. You split with the Diamondbacks. You won against the Padres earlier in the month. Fine, they can have it. You can have the season split 3-3. But at that point, at that point in the season, after the Cubs had finished playing the Padres in San Diego, both the Padres and the Dodgers were playing out of their minds. And I think combined over half of their team losses were to the Chicago Cubs. So that feels really good that they're squeaking out series, not necessarily squeaking out, they're winning series against some of the best teams in Major League Baseball. And that's where things started to feel a little bit different. Hey, you tired of the NL West yet? Yeah? Too bad. There's 2 more series coming up after this against NL West teams. The Cubs, by the end of April, will have finished playing the Dodgers, Padres, and Diamondbacks fully for the year. The Diamondbacks are the next team to come to Wrigley, and the Cubs win one of the greatest games most people have ever seen. And that might be a bit of an over-exaggeration. I mean, how could a game in late April between the Diamondbacks and the Cubs on a Friday be one of the greatest games ever played? Well, the score was 2-1 Cubs going into the bottom of the 7th. The game ended 13-11 Cubs. Now, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, is this one of the greatest games of baseball ever played? Probably not. But it's one of the better games in the modern era, that especially when it was happening for Cubs fans. This was a true testament to why this team is going to be different this year. Because this was turning into another game that the team was going to blow a save. They scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th to take a 7-1 lead going to the 8th inning. And the Diamondbacks scored 10 runs. Couple of home runs. You got a grand slam from Eugenio Suarez. And the Diamondbacks piled it on. They were up 11-7. And so, great. The Cubs have just blown a save. They were up 6 runs, and now they're down by 4 in between trips to the batter's box. I mean, that's ridiculous. And last year's Cubs team, they lose that game. And any Cubs team from the last 6-7 years lose that game. But not this one. Carson Kelly with a nice homer to bring hope back to this team. And then Kyle Tucker. I haven't mentioned Kyle Tucker at all in this video. Kyle Tucker gives the Cubs the lead with a 2-run shot over by the scoreboard. And the Cubs lead 12-11. Seiya Suzuki adds an insurance home run to add and the Cubs close the door and win 13-11. Wrigley goes crazy. And it feels like this team is going to be different. 16 runs in the 8th inning. 10 by the Diamondbacks. 6 by the Cubs. 18 total hits by the Cubs. They hit 5 home runs in this game. Carson Kelly, guess what? Had 2 of them. Kyle Tucker had one. Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki all had home run knocks. Ian Happ hit a grand slam in the bottom of the 7th. And it was pretty much all for nothing. Not even an inning later. I mean, an absolute roller coaster of a game. That was unbelievable. And then the Cubs would win the next game and then lose in extras to close out the weekend. And then for further context, that 8th inning where there were 16 runs scored was the highest scoring inning in the history of Wrigley Field. Do you know how long Wrigley Field has been in operation and has been hosting Cubs games? That's insane. And the Cubs find a way to be the winners in a game like this instead of the losers. And then the Cubs will host the Dodgers for 2 games, kind of as the extra mini series for the Tokyo series, because the Cubs are the designated home team. They're going to get 2 more games at home against the Dodgers, just so that the Dodgers get to play in Chicago. Now, this 2-game series had some of the most wild antics I have seen out of a series. Like, it's ridiculous. These teams aren't even in the same division. And you can see the rivalry and the bad blood showing, mainly because everyone hates the Dodgers right now, and that's fair. But Dodger fans were parading to Wrigley Field in a big, giant parade. Like, actually a parade. And then they go up 10-7 after they were trailing 7-5 in the 7th. They lead by 3 in the first game. The Cubs score 2 in the 8th. And then Miguel Amaya with a clutch solo home run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. And then Ian Happ walks it off in the 10th, and the place goes absolutely crazy. The Cubs win 11-10, and they beat the Dodgers for the 3rd straight time. Cubs get another 17 hits. Kyle Tucker goes 3 for 4 with a home run. Pete Crow Armstrong 3 for 5 with a home run. And then Ian Happ with the walk-off single to finish the game. I know I'm probably missing certain details here and there, but I mean, I only got so much time to talk about this, and there's a ton of baseball to cover, so I mean, this was a ridiculous finish. And then the Cubs would win again the next day by 1 run. Pete Crow Armstrong, 3 for 4 in this game with a home run. The guy has been unbelievable against the Dodgers this year. The Cubs did all their scoring in the 4th and the 5th. The Dodgers were down 7-5, got a run in the 6th, and couldn't score after that. And the Cubs hang on. They sweep the Dodgers. All that drama or beef that these teams were starting to gain over these last 2 days with the Dodgers trying to storm into Wrigley and take over Wrigley Field, leave home empty-handed. And the Cubs fans are on cloud 9 as they get another rest day before welcoming the Philadelphia Phillies, the first NL East opponent they play all year. Oh, by the way, they still haven't played a division opponent. Cubs would lose this series against the Phillies. They'd lose on Sunday in extras too, which doesn't help. But again, with how well they've played, winning 2 straight series against the Diamondbacks and Dodgers with some of the most thrilling finishes in Wrigley Field's history. That doesn't even feel like that big of a backbreaker. It's like, all right, you lose a series to the Phillies. That happens. And then they go ahead and get their first divisional opponent of the year on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Which at that point, I am being serious with it, which at that point was the first team that they had played that was under 500. At that moment, every single team they had played in April finished the month 500 or better. And the Cubs were not only with a winning record, but they were also first place in the NL Central. That is astounding. If they play that well for the rest of the year, I mean, this team is going to go to the playoffs. Every team's going to go through slumps throughout the year. Every team's going to go through hot streaks. The fact that the Cubs are going to have a massive hot streak to start the year against 3 teams from the NL West who also by the end of the month were some of the better teams in the NL and all basically competing for that top spot is really impressive. It's a season split with the Padres, but it's season series wins against the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. Yeah, they lost to the Phillies, but now they finally get a chance to take a break and go play the Pirates. They win the first game in dominating fashion. They lose the second game against a pitcher who isn't that good, but you know what? You lose games sometimes like that. That's just how baseball is. And they immediately would, come back the next day against Paul Skeens, and while he was playing a really good game, decided to hit 3 homers off him in the 5th inning. Just casually decided to hit 3. I mean, it was ridiculous. The Cubs were losing 2-0. And then Dansby Swanson, Kyle Tucker, and Seiya Suzuki all hit home runs off of Paul Skeens to take a 3-2 lead. They would end up winning that game 8-3 after they pulled the starter right after. I mean, seriously. Kyle Tucker at this point, that was his 8th home run of the year. Same thing with Suzuki. Dansby was at 6 when he hit that one. I mean, that's insane. Our position players have been playing very well this season, both at the plate and out in the field. And then the Cubs promptly go up to Wrigley North in Milwaukee and win 10-0 in the first game. They had a 9-0 lead at the end of the 2nd inning. Michael Busch hit a grand slam in the top of the 2nd. Pete Crow Armstrong had 2 homers in this game, including one later, which was hit right to a Brewers fan who caught it, chucked it back into the field, and on the broadcast, I mean, that is the biggest stare of anger and frustration in a baseball fan I've seen in a while. It's cut off as he's screaming a very certain word that we've all had screamed before when watching any sort of sporting event. You know which one I'm talking about. It starts with an F. And the Cubs dominate in that game. They win the next one, lose the series finale. But again, the way I'm thinking about it at this point, if the Cubs win 2 of 3 games every single series they play, they're going to be just fine. So I'm okay with another series win up north in Milwaukee. And now we get to the last week of play, where the Cubs have kind of struggled a little bit. They win the first game against the Giants, and then lose 14-5 in 11 innings. They didn't just lose by 9 runs, they pushed it to extras and allowed 9 runs in extras. That was bad. A truly terrible performance from Ryan Pressly. A one that he's going to want to forget and move on from. Every pitcher has bad performances. That was exceptionally putrid. And the Cubs lose by 9 in 11 innings. They then lose the series finale. They lose 2 games to the Giants. And you're like, okay, that's not great. They then have to go play the Mets on the road. Lose the first game. That's not great. Win the second game. All right, you win by 1 run. And then they lost today, as I'm recording this, May 11th, 2025. They lose the series finale 6-2. So 2 bad losses and a close win against the Mets. Not great. And Cubs teams in the last couple of years have kind of had a bit of a slump in May and June. Especially last year, there was a bad slump around this time that really affected their season from then on out. They were kind of playing catch-up for the rest of the year, even when they started playing better. And it, of course, didn't catch up to everyone. But that's the thing. If this is the month that they are going to struggle a little bit, it's not a bad month to struggle. I know, of course, some people might be like, why? This is, of course, going to be a terrible month to struggle. They've got such an easy schedule coming up. Now, heed my advice. If the Cubs are going to play worse, objectively worse than they did in the first month of the season here in May, wouldn't you want it to be against weaker competition so they can still find ways to win baseball games? Still win 2 games of 3 every weekend despite playing poor? That's kind of the thing that I'm kind of thinking of. Because, here's the next month. They have the Marlins at home. The White Sox at home for 3. The Marlins on the road. The Reds on the road. The Rockies at home, who, by the way, no one has been talking about how absolutely terrible the Rockies are. what are like 6-33 right now? What are we doing? They're 40 games in, and they've won 6 games? I mean, regardless of how you feel about the last week of play, the Cubs have had a really, really good start to this season. And the big addition, Kyle Tucker, who they signed and they're struggling to get a contract deal, the guy is absolutely convincing everyone in this organization that they should basically just give him a blank check. The guy's got 10 homers. The guy's hit clutch homers. He's been important in big scenarios this season. Pete Crow Armstrong has been the prospect that has blossomed. This is the breakout year we've been waiting for PCA. He's also got 10 homers. Seiya Suzuki's bat's waking up. He's got 9. And then Carson Kelly and Dansby Swanson each have 8 each. And Michael Busch even has 7. They have 6 guys who have 7+ homers this season. This is a team that's bats can wake up at any given moment. But if you can neutralize these bats, that is definitely a way to beat this Cubs team. There is something I will say that's kind of nice. Despite not hitting a homer this season, Nico Hoerner leads the Cubs in average. He's hitting 281 this year. So, I mean, if he's not going to hit homers, at least he's getting the ball in play and he's getting on base. And I think that's how some guys play. Nico Hoerner, we'll see if the long ball can start becoming a part of the game later in the year. But if he continues to hit at a 281 pace or even better, I'm going to be fine if he doesn't hit a home run all year. But see, it's the guys who are hitting the long ball that lead the team in RBIs. Suzuki and Tucker are tied for the lead with 32. Crow Armstrong has 28. The top guys on that batting lineup are performing, and it's huge for this team. Their bats have woken up. I think it was, and that's kind of how I feel about it. The Cubs, I feel like, were one superstar away from really waking up the potential of the rest of the team, which is what Kyle Tucker seems to have done for this team. Pete Crow Armstrong's playing great. Seiya Suzuki's playing great. Dansby Swanson's got the long ball going. And defensively, the team's playing as expected, especially the position players, because the pitching has always been the concern. Shota Imanaga has been a godsend to this team. I mean, seriously, they needed an ace. They have it. Justin Steele is a phenomenal complement to Imanaga as a 1-2 punch, though it is going to hurt knowing that Justin Steele has already been confirmed to be missing the rest of the season. A pretty early, nasty injury has sidelined the pitcher for the rest of the 2025 season. Imanaga also had a tear, not necessarily full tear in his hamstring, but is feeling some sort of tightness, and the team is being very cautious about it, which I think is smart. The last thing this team needs is to push Imanaga out when he's not feeling 100% and in risk of really tearing something really bad in the hamstring area, MCL, all that type of nasty stuff that takes a long time to heal. So the team will survive for 15 days if that's what it takes for Imanaga's leg to get back to being 100% so he can pitch for the rest of the season, right? But it's the bullpen that people have always been worried about. Look, it's very true that a lot of teams sometimes have this feeling that their starter can go out and pitch 6-7 innings and either hold a team scoreless or to 1 or 2 runs, and the team can have a 4-2 lead. And then the bullpen pitcher comes out of the bullpen and the other team scores like 3 or 4 runs, and then the team loses. I understand that feeling, and Cubs fans know that feeling all too well. Look, we've been here long enough, and I think my message to you for the next stretch of the season is, if the team starts to struggle a little bit, maybe they lose a series to the Marlins, that's not going to feel good. But the team's been playing very well so far this season. Have a little bit of patience, and hopefully it doesn't go completely south. If the team stumbles for a week or two, struggles, maybe loses a couple series they shouldn't, and they rebound, don't panic. Don't panic with this team just yet. It is still May. So anyways, that's about all I've got. Sorry I didn't go too in-depth. I had a lot of ground to cover. And this is the first baseball-related video I've done on my channel. So please let me know what you think about my analysis at this point, honestly. I'm going to be honest with you. And what you guys really want to know about the Cubs, or what things I should focus on or what really important to you guys when you cover or really talk about the Cubs and what stats you kind of pay attention to. So if you can share your knowledge with me, that would be well appreciated so I know how to better make these types of videos for you people on the internet. So thank you for watching the first baseball video on this wonderful channel. If you liked it, please give it a like. Please hit that subscribe button and please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about in my next baseball video, what things are kind of important to you when you talk about the Cubs. And in general, just keep the conversation about this team going because this is an exciting team to watch. And also let me know if you want to see more baseball content because this is kind of fun. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. You guys stay safe. Have fun out there. And I will see you guys in the next one.